pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we thank you for everyone's attendance. We'll start with the beginning two items, which would be personnel.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to read this first resignation. After 5 amazing years as superintendent of Tri-Township schools, I've been called home in the same role. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to work with many amazing people and hundreds of wonderful students. I wish nothing for the best for Tri-Township, and I fully intend to keep in touch. Please accept this letter as my resignation dated for August 15, 2013, pending full board approval at North Judson and Santa Pierre schools. I recommend approval of that.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
No, we have no minutes for the regular meeting.
Okay.
Approve the, now some of this, I'm new on the block, so it may be fumbling around. Resignation of Anissa Bellin. Okay. Need to approve her resignation.
We have a motion by the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation of Anissa.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
And this is, I think it's been done some time ago, but not officially approved. I'd like to recommend the employment of Sydney Weedy for a third grade teacher and Andrea McDonald for a Spanish teacher. Motion approved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, I'd like to recommend Amber Rusk on a 1-year stipend as a transportation assistant.
That's 1 year, correct, again?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve Amber.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, and I'd like to recommend Chris McGowan, again, on a 1-year stipend for a full-time sub driver. We're combining 2 routes, and so we have a sub driver then. Any of his other driving, he will turn in the hours, but there won't be any pay involved. It'll just be on his stipend. And we'll see how that is, how it pans out after a year.
Do I have a motion by the board?
I'll make a motion to hire Chris McGowan as a full-time sub.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
Aaron.
Aaron.
On number 3.
Yes, so the next item would be the approval of the pay scales for the corporation.
Okay, and most of the pay scales actually was already in a salary schedule that you approved 1 or 2 years ago, I think, and they moved up accordingly for a small raise on those salary scales, and I recommend approval of that. And then we, see, do you just want new ones? How would you like to find them?
To do for anything, normally we would just leave for the ones that's presented to the board.
Okay.
So just as, so we then decide on.
Okay, pay scales as presented, and you have all that information in front of you.
Do you have a motion by the board for the pay changes or recommendations?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
the one stack of all of those need everybody to sign, so I'll set mine aside and you guys can sign them after.
We'll continue moving on to certificate of deposit information.
Okay, there were some CDs that came due, and we looked at them, and, there's a Trust Indiana that is pretty attractive rates, but right now, we thought it made the most sense to go the 3-month CD at 5.15%, which gives us quite a bit of flexibility until we figure out what all we're gonna do with that, any of those funds moving forward. So we, typically, I have never got board approval, but you guys are in charge, but I want to let you know, and if you want to have it as an agenda item, that's your choice.
We have a motion for the recommendation of the CD investments.
I'll make a motion to pay the CD investments.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, the operational agreement for area vocational district is the same dollars as last year. It's supposed to be approved already, but I recommend approval of this because obviously we're going to continue doing this. And there's some paper to sign. Dara, do you have that paper?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a motion for the operational agreements for the area vocational district.
I'll make a motion for the operational agreements.
I'll second that motion for operational.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
And then in your packet, you had some supplemental services contracts, which Dara can have a copy. They've already been approved, the job's already been done, but actually paid for it.
I'll put them with my little stack here first.
Okay. On other, I'd like permission to attend the ISBA Superintendent's Conference on September 25th. I'd love for a board member to go, but
I would like to go.
would you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, why don't maybe we can get together tomorrow and make arrangements and get you
Perfect.
registered. Great. And I added on there, we're gonna have a work session, but legally you don't have to have approval, but you've always done it. Approval to post the 2024 budget, CPF plan and bus replacement plan after we have our work session. You've done that in the past, so I recommend that you approve that. And when you're posting a budget, we'll talk about that later, it doesn't mean you're approving a budget, it's just, like, it's going on the website.
Thank you.
So to have a motion by the board for the approval of the posting.
I'll make a motion to approve the posting.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. We'll continue moving on to public comments on
Who
the agenda.
seconded that one?
Melanie.
So are
I'm
there
new
any,
with this, sorry.
You're fine.
No,
You're
really
fine.
done, so bear with me. And are we not approving the ISBO conference? Was that for approval, or were you just telling them?
I guess we could make an
In the
official
past.
motion.
Okay.
In the past, that wasn't with a requirement.
It wasn't required, but that's
We-
what you
we-
guys have
We
done.
can go by why we're all here if we have a motion on the board for the approval.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. So we're continuing moving on then to public comments. Are there any public comments this evening?
Well, I don't know if you call it a comment, but I'd like you to explain to me the operation agreement for the area vocational district number 6. Like, I don't know what you guys even talked about.
That's our
vocational school.
Vocational school.
Okay.
Oh,
Because that kids get the
Yeah.
Okay, and that's it right there.
Any additional questions, comments? We'll continue moving on to superintendent's report.
Okay, it'll be brief. So far, so good. Ready to start tomorrow. I thought it was a tremendous turnout last night for the back to school night, and one advantage, I think you get a lot of community support in a small school. We're fully staffed, and you're very fortunate. There's a lot of schools out there that don't know what they're gonna do, but they definitely do not have a full staff to start the school year, so it was close, but we got that. Brian, do you have anything on this? Normally in a special meeting you would, but if you have anything you want to bring up?
I'll wait.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. So the next regular scheduled meeting will be August 28th at 6 p.m. So we'll continue moving on to the budget work session. Or to open the work session.
I'll make a motion to open the work session.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll go ahead with that, and this is what you've done in the past. Guy has got this information pretty well put together, and I included quite a bit of information in there where it lists the calendar that you'd already received. Actually, to the budget work session is the 15th instead of the 14th. We'll have a public hearing on September 11th. You may want to mark that. That'll have to be a brief special meeting, and then at the regular board meeting on September 25th, we adopt it. And a lot of that was calendar work. And the way a budget works, I don't know how familiar you are. We're really doing the 24 budget. You're doing an 18-month budget because you have to look at what's going to happen in the last 6 months of this year and all of next year. Because first you got to see how much you're going to have left at the end of December to build into the next budget. And I gave you a sample of that 1782 notice. That was for 2023, and that will be the end result after you go through this process, you advertise it, you adopt it, and then the Department of Local Government Finance works the budget and sees if they have any disagreements or have to make any adjustments, and then they send this out. And then actually you have 7 or 10 days to 10 days to respond if there's something you don't agree with, but there's not a lot that you can do because the numbers are what they are.
Sure.
So, but that'll be the end result. And Guy put together this budget summary. The education funding, it's going to go up about 300,000 from last year. A little less than that because enrollment is not what he had figured. But there's some catches to that because special ed costs are going up 100,000, just like that. So, be concerning real quick. And the enrollment may be 100,000 less than what he was figuring in the budget. So it's not going to be a flush situation. The operations fund is going to go up 4%. It used to be based on a growth factor on a 6-year average, but the legislators decided they liked that until they didn't like the numbers it was producing. So they put a cap of 4% on the operations budget, so it will go up 4%. Your assessed value is going to go up about 8%. So actually your rate is going to go down some in your operations budget. And then the capital projects plan is for larger items. Really, there's going to be very little on your capital projects plan. He's budgeted in to replace one full-size bus if necessary. The debt service fund is going to show a big increase right now. It's going to be inflated, but if you do the new holding corporation bond, there will be some increase, especially for the first year until some other goes off. He included a paper there that talks about tax rates, what's happened in 22 budget, 23 budget, where you can show what he advertised and what it ended up was always lower than what he advertised. But to be safe, he always includes that. There's a paper there just showing that what your assessed value has done. It just came out last week at 7.4% growth in assessed value. Is there any questions on the budget? Because what happens, tomorrow he will post it on the website, and then that gives plenty of time before we have a public hearing on September 11th. And then that gives plenty of time before we adopt it. Any questions on the budget?
I'll make a motion to close the work session.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll continue moving on to the construction work session agenda. Do I have a motion to open the work session?
I'll make a motion to open the construction work session.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Work session open.
Okay, and I tried to include as much information as I could dig up with the most up-to-date information and give you their kind of an agenda. You know, it's your board meeting, but I recommend that you're gonna spend some time talking about possible projects using bond proceeds, and there's gonna be some possible projects outside of the bond proceeds. There will be some with, if you go with design build, there will be some of it will be within design build, there will be some outside of design build. That preliminary timeline, that was really part of the, if you go with design build, which I understand you've had pretty good success with design build, but if you do that, we can talk about that more later, at the August 28th meeting, to stay on schedule, you want to consider retaining a design criteria developer so they can start working through the process and getting the teams put together and all the process. Yes?
Excuse me, ask a question. Okay, so are we okaying this tonight?
We're not, no, there's no votes to be taken. We're not okaying anything.
Thank you, because, yeah, there's some things on here. Yeah. Okay, sounds good, thank you.
And just for my purposes, Mr. Crimmins, if you wouldn't mind, I know you're new, but just so everybody else knows, you've been through this process before, so when we spoke about you being our interim, you know, you've been through many different projects.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind explaining to the public just what, that you have gone through this process, you're familiar with what we have to go through.
Well, we did a $14 million project down in Tri-County, and then we came back and did about a $6 million project. And I've helped oversee, after I retired from there, I helped oversee some projects there and at Frontier. And we actually put someone at Eastern Plasky for 18 months, the clerk of the works for a big project that we were working with. So there's a variety of ways of getting it done. It takes a lot of time, and you know, what you decide now, it may be a year from now before a lot of things actually happen. Some of the funding sources, you know, it sounds like, you know, you approved to go up to the $3.2 million bond issue. That's gonna create about $3 million available for actual construction costs. There's ESSER dollars, there's $100,000 out there that it has to be encumbered by the end of September and spent by the end of the year, or it goes away. So that's something to keep in mind. That clearly wouldn't be part of the design build process. There's old construction money that, you know, again, you guys, it's up to you what you want to do with that. And, you know, there's some rainy day money, but again, that's slippery slope when you start using rainy day money, because it's really them last two are both, well, the last three are one-time monies. So I listed on there some possible projects out of the design build. And I laid a packet there, which at your desk has all the information I have about the toll building, about the different costs. You know, I'm guesstimating based on what quotes you have in there at this point, you know, you're going to have approaching $250,000 in that building before it's, in my opinion, all done. And I know sometimes you say, well, you'd like to have exact figures. The problem with it, Performance Services gave us as much. The design criteria said you probably shouldn't lean on them any harder because they aren't officially even hired to do the job.
Right.
But they've updated the figures and so forth. Not on this pole building because that's outside of it. But the roofing, you know, the updated with Tremco, you know, it's approaching $500,000 of potential roofing work at some point. And I think you've talked about possible softball, baseball lights. Again, 250,000, it might be high, but you gotta start somewhere.
Mr. Crimmins, when we look at the ESSER money, when do we, if a decision was made, the next time we have a session, a normal session for approving things, that 100,000, what has to be done prior to September to retain that money? Can a deposit be made, or what has to happen?
You have to encumber it.
Encumber it, so.
So you'd have to approve, no, it doesn't have to be completed. And it doesn't have to be completed by the end of the year, but $100,000 of it has to be completed. Because it's gonna take more than that 100,000 if you do that building. But if you get right after it, you probably spend that much before the end of the year. Because you look at that demolition, you look at some of the projects that add up.
Otherwise, that goes away.
Correct.
And then what kind of things can we spend that on? Is there any things, specific ties that are going to be for pretty much anything house for the school corporation?
Ryan, were you involved with how that was written up, the ESSER? It was make more space for kids and get them separated.
Distancing,
Okay.
Yeah.
and make more room, so they either offices or classroom, that's for
Yeah, or
social
classrooms,
distancing
yeah.
purposes. And we spent some of that, we've
Yeah.
spent some of those ESSER funds already. This is just what was, is still left.
Thank you.
And the roofing was broke down, that's this building, and also down at the, what do you call it, the Tiger Den? Is that what you call it? Okay. And then the baseball, softball lights.
Mr. Crimmins?
yes.
I will say, on the baseball, softball lights, it's adjoined with lacrosse. Dick Hooper came in and spoke with us, and Dick says we all have to agree or it's not gonna happen, just to make that.
Well, and I'm not pushing one way or the other.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
because you weren't here, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say scrap the lights, take it off, I don't think we'll have the ability to do it.
Well, then that's what the work session's for. You don't have to make any decisions, but. And some of this will depend if you want to use any of the old construction money, you don't want to use the old construction. Any other comments on the possible projects outside the design building?
Just only myself with what you mentioned as far as utilizing construction money. I think we didn't really discuss this. I'm pretty conservative, but I also plan for the future, but also we need to be responsible because we have children to take care of, and of course, taxpayer dollars. I think it's important that we get an overview of like what our attendance is going to be and some of these other decisions in front of us when we start digging into those construction funds, especially when we're getting 5.15% right now, which we weren't getting anything for the last 3 or 4 years. So just when we look at the big picture, I think that that's just important that we look at that. We do need to be, if we need to get things done and we come up short, I think we all know that's accessible, but also know that dollar amount times 5% as a teacher's salary, and we would lose that ability not knowing what kind of emergencies exist.
Any other thoughts on that? Because, I'm not here trying to convince you to do anything. Sure.
Right, I know that.
But I think it's important that you guys are going to have to talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And, I think, the thing is, right now, I told the staff yesterday, we have a little problem in America right now that it's my way or the highway, and it's okay to disagree. We need to be respectful when we disagree, and there's always a chance that I'm wrong, or you're wrong, or whatever, and that's all right. But we do need to talk about it, or nothing's gonna happen. That's an option too. And possible projects inside the design build. I gave you that 5A. That is, that's their most recent numbers that they estimate.
For the pole barn?
No.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Do you have questions on the pole barn?
No, but I think that's a great idea.
So this list is again separate from
Right,
the total,
exactly.
separate from all those other items.
Thank you, Tim.
This performance services wouldn't have anything to do with those.
Okay.
And when you have a relationship with Trimco and you've been working with them, to pay a third party they will gladly do it, I guarantee that, but it doesn't make a lot of sense, I don't think, to do that.
Right.
Right.
If you're confident with the other direction you went with. This is the list they put together. We had a conference call and kind of told them we kind of thought this was kind of a priority, but nothing is in stone or anything else, but it's to start the discussion.
Sure.
Mr. McMahon, so this list is,
The most
when we
recent.
presented to the public and we had our hearings for the movement towards the discussions that now we're having towards that, this is kind of coming off of that list, that kind of the different options that Mr. Shepherd presented, correct?
Yes, yeah. The only thing is it's updated with new numbers from,
Okay.
That's what my question
yeah,
was. So
they,
these are the updated.
they adjusted some numbers. And I think it said, they looked at inflation and looked at other things, so I think they're conservative numbers, so.
Okay.
Anyone have comments on them?
I'm more conservative too, so I'm kind of like, just looking.
I'm shocked at the window replacement cost.
Yeah, I'm
That dropped
shocked.
by $200,000.
I'm shocked.
I don't know, some materials went up.
It's crazy.
And I think one thing that was mentioned is that do we have to do all of them at the same time, or do we partition them when we look at all the other projects?
On a bond issue, you have 2 or 3 years, actually. And Jane Herman will say, hey, you gotta get it spent, but if you didn't spend, it still sits there drawing interest.
Okay.
But I was referring to, like, this is 700,000, and we do 350 now, and then there's another project that the board can see that's more vital. Can we split that up and do a partition of them? Do we have to do this? Is this emergency and get it done in 2 years, or does it have to be done in 5 years? How much longer do we wait? And then what money's gonna be available down the road to do these kind of projects?
Right.
I don't want to spend all our money.
Well, and eventually on a bond issue, you will have to spend all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not something you can take a bond and put it in the bank.
We have to have.
You can for a while, and you'll draw interest in the times, quite a bit of interest right now between the time you take the bond out. Because realistically, most of these wouldn't be till next summer.
That we have to attach them to something.
Yes.
So through your other boards, when we have like a situation like this, board of these items and priorities that I think it's important that Mr. Shepherd in the past and Mr. McMahon has made recommendations. We're not living the day-to-day like of course they have. How does the board normally come to a consensus to figure out the priorities?
Yeah, I mean, I think the administration had listed these as what they think is the priorities and affordability, but it's ultimately the board's decision. I mean, I don't know what's right on a track, but I mean, I think you as a board, you gotta decide, are you going to operate moving forward, or are you gonna just try to hang on and see what happens? Because it's 2 different directions you go.
Sure.
Right. Ryan, are these like estimated, or did Kelly actually call and,
No, these are all estimates from PSI.
so they're just, okay, thank you.
And legally, we have to hold a PCC, which would be the marketing corporation. We have to launch a high jump and shot put, correct?
Yes, yep,
So that we don't have to have custom colors.
no. And that's an 8-lane track too, which would be a requirement.
And you can make a decision to do some of it, so they take some alternatives, so see where they come in and add to it later if you have the funding.
What about the other company that you were gonna talk to about the track, just out of curiosity? Did they ever get back to you with any numbers, or they
No
were just?
numbers, no.
Okay.
So, they sent us drawings, and it was, I think that was in between time when
Sure.
Kelly was leaving, and so we just never
Okay.
met with them. The estimate they gave us was 1.1 to 1.3.
Okay.
Off the top, that was just before we even met with them. When we first met with them, before they did the drawings.
And that's a number that I'm hearing from other schools, it's gonna
Yeah.
cost you about that
Yeah.
to do it. Because if you do it, you wanna make sure, you wanna do it right, you wanna have a
Sure.
good foundation, you wanna have that, so you're not dealing with problems 5 years down the road.
Sure. I mean, so performance services is right there, pretty much with what,
Wasn't that other number though estimating irrigation included in it?
And lights, I thought,
That one wasn't,
was it lights?
that one wasn't with lights.
Okay. I thought for some reason
No,
irrigation.
we were
but not
looking,
lights.
we were looking at lights for the track, the problem is there's a utility line that runs
Right.
on the south side of the track. And how close we are to the property line, there's not enough footage there to put the lights on. Yeah.
Okay.
So, now it's something we can do later on, yeah. So, and I know this quote gives you, or this quote gives you everything roughed in for irrigation, or all those things, so.
I mean, them top ones, I assume there's quite a bit of agreement that the toilet rooms need
yes.
Yes,
fixed right and so forth.
Yes.
20 years ago.
Yeah. And you're gonna replace the windows sooner or later.
The ones that leak, not all.
That's why I said I.
That's why I was wondering if
Like,
that
we're
700,
checking some of that.
well, I was wondering if that 700,000 is to replace all of the windows, or if it was just the worst ones. I don't remember what they said.
I thought it was total.
Total
I think
That
it's
was total replacement.
I mean, so over, a course of time, I mean, they can be prioritized or whatever, so you can trim that number down, you don't have to replace everything, just like Aaron said, the worst ones get replaced. I mean, because that's an issue, you have water infiltration, you gotta worry about mold and everything else, I mean, so that stuff really probably needs to be addressed, to a minimum degree.
And part of the challenge, if you don't do them all, it's not like there's gonna be a pot of gold drop
Yeah.
down in
Right.
3 years to,
Yeah.
you don't do these things very often.
Sure.
See, I just think our foundation needs to be strong.
Is there any, just thinking, if there are any ROIs as far as doing things that you've been opposed to, where there's grants or anything, because it's energy savings, or they're just tied to windows right now?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not saying there are.
But that's probably worthwhile asking with everything going on right now for efficiencies, asking Colleen.
Might help our energy costs.
Right.
You know,
And the
might
NIPSCO
help-
has a lot of
Might help
programs.
that with our,
Right.
with our, what we're paying for our NIPSCO bill. So I'm sure there's some air and escaping
Yeah.
from some of them.
One thought with that too is if you space it out, maybe we don't run into the same problem that we did with the HVAC at La Crosse and Tiger Den, where we replaced 4 units in the last 2 years.
Right.
Maybe if we're spacing the windows out, then we're not replacing them all at once, but down the road, we can replace some in the house. Each year we can budget for them later.
When's the last time these windows were, Tim?
Before my time, probably 40 years, 50
Yeah,
years.
probably, I'm guessing,
Probably Jen's time.
yeah.
Jim, your time?
How long ago the windows have been replaced here?
In here,
doesn't remember. That's not a good sign.
Jim, you're thinking too long, so it had to be a long time.
81.
I think it was 81 or 82, somewhere around there.
40 years.
Yeah.
That's what my computer says anyhow, but you know, yeah, something.
Yeah. When, since we've been talking about these projects, how much
Yeah,
have
they
the
want
prices
to do it.
increased?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I mean, every year we're seeing a 10%, 15% increase on these same projects.
So Brian and I were just talking, assuming the window replacement isn't like the new section, you know what I mean? The addition, probably not, that, it's just the,
Yes, it's only the older.
only the older section.
Well, I would encourage each of you to kind of give your thoughts. You know, it wouldn't be right for me to tell you what I think you ought to do. I've been here a week.
I know, it's a lot.
Oh, you're no time, aren't you?
It's a lot of money, but I just feel that if they were all replaced, then it's done.
And Brian, is this including the panels, the brown panels too, do you recall? Or is it just the windows
I
itself?
was reading on there,
Do you know?
for attachment, as soon as metal stud and drywall is present for attachment of new metal panels. So I replace all the metal panels.
So the windows and the metal panels in between the windows. I mean, some of those are in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
I think we need to do projects that are gonna draw some kids here and not do all the windows.
I think the windows should be prioritized. Yeah, I don't think we should do 100% of the windows. I think we should grade the windows and the worst windows get replaced.
Yeah.
And then the ones that are decent, we push off at a later date, so we have more money, like Aaron said, to do some of these other things that might draw students
If we're
here.
gonna focus on all the windows, all the outside, the bathrooms, the roof here, the roof at lacrosse, we're gonna watch 30 more kids walk out of here next year.
Well, that's kind of why I asked the question about the panels, because when you drive up, even though it looks like there's aesthetically.
You gotta remember, we got $1.5 or $1.4 million in the bank too.
Yeah, but we don't wanna blow through that.
Why wouldn't we wanna spend some of it before someone else gets suspended?
Because you don't spend everything you have, Aaron.
I didn't say spend everything we have, I said spend some of it.
I think we need a foundation. That's just all I'm saying. I mean, we don't have to do all the windows, you know, at once, but we need a foundation.
The
For
locker
kids
room
to come
renovations
here.
out the bottom, is that here?
Locker room renovations.
Yeah, W13, is that here?
Yeah.
You know, it's sad to say, but I haven't been in those locker rooms in forever. Are they
8th grade?
bad? I mean, are they,
Lacrosse,
no, here at Wanatah.
They don't get used much, I don't
they
think.
haven't changed.
P's, I mean, they're used for P, they're used for games.
Same as they were back
Yeah.
then.
It'd be fair to say you're not showing much interest in anything below W5. I mean,
Well, we do need parking spaces. But
I don't know, how's the parking here during the, I mean, is it fun? I mean,
School day, it's okay. We probably still have 10 to 12 spots available, I think.
I mean, from my point of view, that's the most important thing. I mean, you know, people are coming for sports, it'd be nice if there was extra parking, but I mean, we're in the business to educate the kids. I mean, people that wanna come and watch a game, if they have to park on the road, I mean, then so be it. I mean, honestly, that's the way I feel.
We're tied to a trap, we have a trap meet here for
Yeah.
BCC, where we need.
where are they gonna park?
Yeah.
Across the road. Walk right across. There's a gravel lot right over there.
City of Lane, or about-
Well, that or just over here
Well, and-
by the old state.
And two with the
shed
buses
over
Oh,
back
yeah.
here now, there's definitely some improvements we need to make for turnaround for the buses.
Sure.
there.
Yeah.
What's the parking out back for here, like the big lines? Is that for
Buses.
bus pickup?
Yeah, but.
So why don't we add on something back here so it is easier? Because I was thinking about that the other weekend when I was here. I mean, Because in all, I'm assuming the kid pick up, drop offs at the front now.
Parent pickup is up front, parent drop offs in the back. Buses drop off in front in the
then
morning, and
pick up.
then they pick up here at afternoon.
So I mean, what they gotta do, the all 3-point turnaround back here?
The first bus, it's a tight turn, but they can make it.
So depending on what we.
First
do-
two buses are backed in, the other ones are pulled in, and then nose in, and then they make that turn. So, so depending on what you, I mean,
Right.
if the pole barn's a thing that we're gonna do, that miles have to go, and so that's gonna create some more space for sure, to make the turn.
Yeah, we can always run that pole barn more south and move it back that way to the south just a little bit, couldn't we then? To add on to the parking lot, then that way, and then,
Yeah, I mean, one idea that we had was trying to keep it, the south part of the garage is already there, having the south edge of the pole barn, so they're even, because there's gonna be about a 10 to 15 foot gap right there, and that's your entrance into the track, because the track would be fenced all the way around, so that's your entrance for, for people to pay at the gate, and so that, we would use that, and we would be able to gate it off then if we wanted to keep people, I think do something where people can still come in and walk the track, run the track.
right?
So, yeah, because you want, we're gonna have to pay for that part of the rent.
Yeah.
So,
Would it help you, just suggestion, if by the next meeting, the administration had a recommendation of what you could consider to do with the money you got available? You don't have to follow it, but I mean, it don't seem like we're making a lot of progress.
But if you look at from W1 through to W4, you said stop up to 5. If you don't do anything with the windows at all, and you do just a PCC ready track, you're at 2.445, and then the windows are 505,000. You are at $3 million, which is what we have accessible. And that's not including the 150 plus above and beyond the Esser's grant for the pole barn. So we do everything from W1 down to, without even touching the windows, you're at $3 million to get the roof replaced, and then again, get the track taken care of, and then you've already hit that max, other than the dollars that we have in our checking account. So that's not including the parking lot or the window replacement, which is covering these main top items that were, I think, these were the recommendations by Kelly and yourself months ago, correct?
yeah.
The officials locker room at lacrosse, is that, I mean,
That could be something that's at the bottom, I mean,
that could be,
Once
that could
we
be,
get-
that could go to the bottom.
once we get numbers, that can be, yeah.
I mean, I know it'd be nice for the officials, but for the amount of time that they're gonna use it, I mean, I'd rather use that money, like Aaron said, to maybe do something to attract kids to the
That's
school.
not gonna market or school.
No.
Yeah, that's something that that can be easy to pull off of there.
I mean theoretically, I mean, you could use some of our own money if we had, had to fix the windows, a little here, a little there. I mean, if you're getting 5% on that money, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, else, the officials locker room, the renovate flex plastic, that one's not a high priority W6. W8, we've pretty much done all of that with grant money. We've replaced a lot of the visual boards in all the classrooms, smart boards and TV, so that one's,
W8,
yep, so that one's pretty much done already.
So for the board's point of view then, Brian, if you look at the things that from the thing that's gonna allow our corporation to draw students to market ourselves well aesthetically, internally and externally, just from the things you're looking at, from the concerns you hear from either parents or children, what is gonna do the best to support the things that have to be done that have time, they're time sensitive because there's maintenance items and then there's these things that we have to do to market ourselves. So if you look at these, what would you put your priority at?
I mean, W1, W2, the boys, girls dressing room, LC1 at lacrosse. I think the track has to be up there. Whole building, I feel like has to be up there.
Yeah, I agree with the pole building. I mean, to me, that's,
I do too.
Yeah. And then, for me, it's a flip of a coin of, I mean, roofing needs to be done. But I'm still not, to me, windows and, I mean, the lights is a thing of your edges, so, I think that, I mean,
Do you,
that's something that's there, I mean, but that's, again, some of these things, you know, it's when the bids come back and you guys see what can we keep and what can't we keep, so.
And to me, as a board, you're gonna have to sooner than later decide, do you wanna touch any construction money or part of the construction money, or none of the construction money?
And of course, that comes down to priority, how much we need to do that. I think if we can get our mindset around, as a professional board, to look at the things that need to be done, and what our parties are, and come to at least a consortium, then I think then we know how much is attributed to that. But right now, I think until we figure that out, we're kind of sitting here spinning.
so you're thinking W1, W2, LC1, W4, those are your,
Brian, do we
Yeah.
really need the LC1?
Yes. We have 2 locker rooms right now.
You
When we
do
host
those
boy,
others.
girl, varsity double headers, we have to have 4 locker rooms. We usually use the school. That's not gonna be, at some point, that's not gonna be able to happen. So then we're short. We're using the weight room, which I don't like using, and then we're using the cafeteria. And then we have officials.
I was just asking.
Yes, and then we have officials in the 1 locker room with,
Okay,
with one of the teams.
yeah.
So, and then we do have a female official now, it makes it really tough, because
Yeah.
right now, in the past, they've been using the school. But if that's
Right.
not an option.
Sure.
So, and I think our kids, I mean, they're not gonna be, those aren't gonna be locker rooms that are used for PE, they're gonna be set up for
Right.
volleyball and basketball. So, I think there'll be really nice locker rooms for our kids to be in.
I mean, if you do the math,
Thank you.
W1 through W5 plus the pole building and the roofing is about doable with that $3 million.
Right.
yeah,
That's what I said, so what you just described, Brian, is roughly 2.6 million. If we spend roughly 150,000 towards additional above and beyond the ESSER's dollars, so you're 2.65, and then you're right, whether you think that, I know it's gonna cost more in the future for the roof, and it's something that has been recommended, but I don't know if that's a year or 2 away. I know when I spoke to Tremco, and they said they're gonna hold this pricing, because Kelly made a mention that he wanted approval 2 months ago towards that already, and I wanted to understand the timing before it came on, to understand what the impact would be to commit to that now versus waiting. And he's fine this year he thinks holding that price for the current year. Going into next year, we could probably expect another 10% increase. So it's something that has to be done in the next year or two. Again, there's another 505,000 that needs to be added here. You're right there at the $3 million mark then. If you're including, because that comes up to $2 million, and then you're having 500, so you have 2.5, so you have 2.6, and you have these 400,000 left, or whatever these other items are.
And that exact decision doesn't need to be made yet.
sure.
Now, pretty soon you're gonna have to make a decision on the pole building,
I was just saying, we have.
because or you're gonna lose that $100,000.
Yeah.
My understanding from, that Jane Hernan though, is that we have to come up with some kind of list to get, if we want this money encumbered to get access to it by February 1st, we need to stay on track pretty close to what.
Right, but I mean, as far as deciding exactly what it is.
Exactly right, but at least have it tied to what our intentions of projects are. We need to, she made it sound like we need to do that by the end of August to not get off track.
Well, but what you're looking at now, at the end of August, you're gonna hire the design criteria,
Correct,
and they're gonna work on coming up with the
right.
pricing and so forth. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to make a final decision at the end of August.
Correct.
Probably in October, you're gonna have to.
Correct.
Brian,
We just need to keep
again,
moving.
what are we using the pole barn for?
So it's 40 by 80, so 40 by 40 will be a STEM classroom.
Okay, so that,
So that's fully insulated.
yeah,
The other side, the 40 by 40 would be for track storage.
okay,
We're gonna build a track, we're gonna have to add
right.
hurdles, we're gonna have to add some of those things. But also, kind of the hope was that we could also use it as not just track storage, but also we can put a batting cage in there, if we can put other things in there for kids to be able to do some things during the winter time.
I'm for the pole barn.
And I put a fairly high estimate in there, because, I mean, you're really trying to do a pole barn with, kind of without professional designing. And then when you start running into restrooms and stuff like that, it's mind-boggling what that costs.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
We're 2.6 million, just things that Brian mentioned, the roof and the 150 allocation for the pool.
Does anyone have any other comments on that? Well, I anticipate, Brian, we will have a recommendation for you guys to at least discuss.
Thank you.
And, this next meeting. Now, at the 28th, I get the feeling that you want to go the design build route. Is that pretty agreeable?
I think so, yeah.
So if you do that, I have not worked with this Dan Rawlings, but I have heard nothing but good things about him.
He's done 3 other projects here.
I mean, that's the only thing that really needs to be approved on the 28th, is to get him to start the design criteria procedure. And we have to appoint people to that examination board, things like that. But the other, time has a way of flying, and sleep on it, but by there in October, you're gonna have to do or get off the pot. Any other questions? Anything you'd like for us to find before the next meeting?
No, I used the quote through for the parking lots, thank you. For parking services.
CSI, they just put that together. So,
Give what you must have done here.
Hope that they're 10% higher, so that's probably cost.
Yeah, you go.
You hope.
Have Bill Williams come in here and, do it for probably much cheaper.
yeah.
So a motion to close the work session.
I'll make a motion to close the work session.
Let's do it.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.